A clearly marked and well-defined vertical line on the Jupiter mount, that's the mount underneath the Apollo finger here, is said to enhance the positive aspects of a person's character and their personality. It's said to aid them in success in their aspirations, their dreams and ambitions, and also their successes in society and materialistically as well in general. Now, I'm using the Dalai Lama's hand as an example here. You can see his full reading I've done for him elsewhere on my channel, but you can see that he, in fact, does have this line here, clearly marked vertical line, unobstructed, and so this is true for the Dalai Lama. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is a cross on the Jupiter mount, and actually what we see here is a star. And I neglected to mention this when I went over this in his actual palm reading, I think, but a cross seen here, which we don't quite see, we actually see a star. A cross on the Jupiter mount is an excellent sign because, and actually crosses in palmistry are not generally all that good, but here it is. It provides us with a picture of someone who has a very positive and very prosperous, peaceful, and loving relationship with their partner. Normally, you would find that cross a little bit more central. And really, what I feel this is a convergence of ambition fused with sympathy, which is interesting. The star seen on the Jupiter mount is a very rare marking, and actually, we do see that on this person's palm here. And it's said to satiate a person's desire for ambition. Their ambition has been fulfilled. They are very happy as a result. Stars in palmistry are very sudden. They are very impactful. They impact our lives in a profound way, very suddenly, very shockingly. And this shows a sudden rise of distinction, of an honorable accomplishment of some sort in life. And it sort of shows a possible sort of predetermined role, sudden elevation in whatever it is they're doing. It shows sudden honorable greatness, a role of, you know, absolute um, honor and duty. And I think it's interesting to note here as well that this star is formed out of the creation of ambition. It's formed from instinct, which rises upwards towards the self, this kind of introspective self-awareness, this intuition about the self, ambition, and then also there's this little spike here that points over towards Saturn, the place of duty and honor, and that sense of doing the right thing. So it's a combination of all of these things, this brilliance, this honorable doing the right thing and ambition is all kind of intertwined here, and it's kind of an explosive sign of greatness. A triangle seen in this area is said to provide the owner with an ability for uh, tact and diplomacy, an ability to utilize the most sort of political, academic abilities there. Triangles, and you might have heard me say this actually, triangles I feel are always linked to study in some way. They're always fortunate. They're always providing in some way some sort of peace and sometimes conflicts needed to create that peace. And it's certainly in politics there's conflict. But this I feel is study in political areas, but mostly it provides the owner with an ability of diplomacy and tact, the art of a negotiator. Now, you've probably heard of this one before. A square on the Jupiter mount is known as the teacher's square. Squares are always protective, and in this case, it protects information. It guards that information and it allows a person to handle that information in a very calm way, in a graceful way, with humility, and it provides a sense of sort of sobriety. So there's grace here. The person is passing on this information and handling it with care, and they have an ability to um, safeguard that information. People with the teacher's square, they are much less likely to be corrupted by um, achievement and by success. And this is because of that kind of prudent approach to the way they handle information. A grill on the Jupiter mount is not a good sign, and it shows a tendency to sway to feelings of vanity, to a lacking of how character in terms of how to act in society, loose morals. Um, I mean, essentially, you could picture that square, but it's now defaced, it's defected, and so you have all of the sobriety and that prudence, that grace and that humility is now corrupted. So instead, we have someone who would likely be corrupted by success. However, they're unlikely to achieve that success because they they're likely to fall prey to superstitions, and their own frustrations as well, their inner pent-up frustrations as well. So in some sort of sense, it is the opposite of a teacher's square, and it's not a good sign to have. Anyone who had this sign, I would recommend something like cognitive behavioral therapy, or at the very least, a warning of their possible own character traits and how they may well be in some way their own worst enemy. Now, I have mentioned the triangle earlier, and you can notice this ambition line rising from the lifeline, and there's this other sort of effort line here rising towards Saturn, achievement and accomplishment within the career. This is not a triangle on the Jupiter mount because it's not isolated enough as this marking is, and as this star we see here, that's isolated as well. So the true meaning for the vertical line and the star align. However, this does not completely because it's a convergence of the major Palmar lines. However, it does bear some meaning, and that's because this is an advancement in academia, speech, language, writing, and this too is an ambition here that's achieved. This is rising out of their station. They're quite literally physically pulling themselves away from their environment. So the two here, this experience along with this academic knowledge, does provide in some way um, that kind of diplomacy skill that this person quite obviously has. So in some way, this triangle does represent what a triangle means on Jupiter. Sorry for the long-winded explanation there, but I felt like it needed tying up. If we saw a triangle isolated on its own, it would have an even more profound marking. But this person's triangle is quite literally tied in with his life experiences and his events. So thank you for watching this video on the signs and markings on the Jupiter mount. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm going to be doing videos on all of the mounts and the Palmar markings, as well as the fingers as well. So if you've got any questions at all, please give me an email or search out for one of my videos. Thanks for watching and please subscribe.